Hi, my name is Matt Hill, and welcome to our conference project where we used ChatGPT to teach how to insert and run queries. And I worked on this with Miss Taylor Saucedo, and the topics covered will include inserting records and comparing inventory records for our store that we've created where we had vegetables that were sold. To start with, we used ChatGPT to get the code and to create a table, which we named store, and we had the fields of store ID, store name, location, hours open, and our primary key for the store ID was auto incremented. Again, we used ChatGPT to create this table and provide the code. And I will segue over to Miss Taylor now so she can provide the rest of the explanation of the ChatGPT and also go through our project in DB browser.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. So basically, once we made the tables in DB browser, and then we pasted the query of the create table for each of our tables in ChatGPT. So that way ChatGPT would be able to have an idea of what exactly our fields were for each table to give it a more precise output. So we did that for the store table, the inventory table, the inventory detail inventory detail table, and the transactions table. So as you can see, we basically just input it like the exact information from from DB browser, and then the ChatGPT puts it in an actual query and then kind of gives an explanation of it. So then once we did that, we kind of started with what exactly we wanted. So we wanted each of these tables to have information already there. So we wanted it to produce data. So we would have this data to work with for our other queries. So first we asked it to, given the table structure, which we provided, we would like to have an SQLite script to generate sample data for each of these tables, taking into consideration key references between tables. So basically, this is just saying we want you to produce a queries for each of the tables to produce data and make sure you're paying attention to the primary keys, foreign keys, and all the fields for each table. So here it gives the insert statement for store, inventory, inventory details, and transaction. Gives us a few of each. Exactly what we wanted. But we wanted more information for certain tables to work with. So here we were asking, give me at least 3 store and 15 inventory produce items and allocating a mix of inventory detail records across the stores and create at least 100 transactions. We wanted a lot of transactions so we could kind of manipulate the data to give us what we were looking for, which we'll get into later. But we did ask it to do that, and that's exactly what it did. And you can see all of the insert statements providing the data here. But we wanted, so ChatGPT like isn't very specific sometimes. So like here it was just giving us product 1 through 15, but we are having a grocery store table or like database. So we wanted to have produce as ours. So we asked ChatGPT to give me actual produce product names. And again, that's when it gave us. You have to be very specific sometimes because it doesn't sometimes work. So here we go. It has all 15 produce names, which is perfect. So that worked great. And then here we explicitly specify the primary key values for an insert statement. So we had them specify the primary keys just to make sure that it was working correctly with all the ID numbers here for inventory ID, store ID, and everything like that. That way they could all work together for the query to run smoothly. So then once we do that, then we got some errors. So what we did was we just copy and paste the error you get in your query, paste it into ChatGPT, and it will apologize and fix that error for you, which it did here, which is great. So sometimes you have to copy and paste it a few times before it truly gets the correct fix for it. So basically that's what we did. Then we moved into what we wanted to ask ChatGPT for our queries. So now if we're going to go over to these are our insert statements. You just copy and paste into ChatGPT. So first we can go over our database structure. So here we have inventory, inventory detail, store, transactions, and that's where I copied and pasted. You can go say for transactions, go to modify table, save, and this is what you would copy and paste into ChatGPT, this query here, so that way they can see what fields you have and everything like that and where to reference it. So that's what we did for every single one of these queries and tables. So then back to our SQL, this is the insert statements we use to produce the data. We've already ran them to make this go a little faster. It executes successfully. So then when we go into the tables to look at the data, we have store here with all the information we need. We have inventory detail here with our 15 inventories. And then we have inventory here with the exact description of each inventory. And then we have transactions here. We have our 100 transactions with all the detailed information here. So that's the first query that we ran, was the insertion of data. Then we moved on to our two queries of data we wanted to look at. So we go back to ChatGPT and we wanted to ask some questions. So our first question was, how many apples were sold in the first quarter? So that was the first question that we asked. So that gave us an output of this here. So once we put that information in, we went to DB browser. We did our Apple sales and we ran it. It worked and it produces this subquery here, or table here, and it uses the data that we already inserted in and gives us an output. So it shows the month of the sale and it shows how many apples were sold during that month. So it kind of gives you a clear picture of how many apples were sold in the months there. So you can see there was an increase, a big jump between between August and November. So as you can look at this data as if you were working with inventory of a grocery store or a manager, and kind of see if in these months, maybe Thanksgiving was coming up, so they need more apples or something. So that kind of just gives a broad or more detailed information or look based on the data you have. You can see exactly what you're looking for. So then go back to ChatGPT. We asked another question, which was, give me a breakdown of how many apples have already been sold and across all the stores. So we use this query here and we put this in ChatGPT, total store sales. So we use the store table and we use how many, like the transactions of these stores, which were, we did all three stores and this was the total sales. So store A had 8.1 sales, store B had 8.9, and store C had 6.1. So it shows the total sales per store, which could be very important. Say you're a manager, you can see how well your store, or like a region manager, to see which stores are doing better based on sales. So I feel like this kind of data and queries that we run are very good for management positions to kind of run and see where their stores are at, what inventory does well, what doesn't, things of that nature. So yeah, that's kind of our take on inventory for grocery stores. And then Matt, do you want to add anything else, or are you good?
So I just want to say that, like Taylor was saying, from a regional standpoint, if anybody in management was comparing between, we use the stores 1, 2, and 3, but obviously it could have been Kroger compared to Walmart or versus Whole Foods. So, from a management standpoint, we know that they're always in competition and comparing, sales to each other. So this is just a kind of this is a small scenario of what could be used in real life. And that's all I have at this point. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And then just another little statement is that you will run into errors. Sometimes we did have some trouble here and there. We had to really go in depth with our chat, but just make sure when you're doing this kind of stuff, you have to be very detailed. So, like for instance, one of the times we had a space in between price on the structures table. So when ChatGPT was giving us the information, I had a space in between the price here. Like I added a space at the end and I didn't realize when the query was running, it wouldn't run because I had a space. So just don't get frustrated. Just try to keep calm and go around and look for things that maybe you wouldn't think would be causing issues, because we did run into a few of those kind of syntax issues. But other than that, ChatGPT really does help you learn by giving you step by step, and you can ask it to explain it to you and all of those things. So I really think ChatGPT is a great resource in order to use for learning how to do database structures and configuration. So,
And
all right.
definitely troubleshooting.
Yes, definitely. A lot of troubleshooting it's very helpful. So thank you all, and we appreciate your time watching our video.